Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
That's pretty pathetic. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, you're there. It's a great privilege and pleasure to be with you. And I should say, since this is our house, my lords, ladies, and gentlemen. But actually, it's just friends and colleagues. And I really want to give the warmest thank you to my dear friend and colleague, Baroness for making today possible. You do not know this, but she is in fact my sister by another mother. And we have, throughout all the years, been absolutely united on this agenda. And what you'll see in this room is women of different complexions, both politically and physically, but women with one heart. And I really want to pay tribute to the World Women Foundation, which is an extraordinary global community of women leaders working collaboratively and collectively for an equitable future. And I pay tribute to each speaker and each participant in today's important event. For 75 years, our Commonwealth family, now 56 nations, with a combined population of 2.7 billion people, 60% of whom are under the age of 30. So all of us here, of course, are under the age of 30. Which has brought together to tackle some of the world's greatest challenges. And I am immensely proud to be the 6th Secretary General and the first woman to serve in that role. And I'm proud that next week I will be standing with the Prime Minister of Samoa, Fiame Naomi Matafa, who will host 56 Commonwealth leaders for our heads of government meeting in Samoa. And she is the first woman to lead her country and is rightly seen as the chief amongst all chiefs. The Commonwealth Women's Forum is a central part of that Chogan agenda, bringing hundreds of women together from across the Commonwealth to focus on collective action for a resilient Commonwealth, solidarity for gender equality. Over 2 days, we will hear from extraordinary women, political and business leaders, change makers and visionaries, who will highlight women's political, economic and societal contributions whilst identifying policies to advance gender equality and peace for all. We will forge, as you are today, forging new alliances. We will agree solutions, make new plans, and the meeting's outcomes will be presented to our heads of government, who will create new mandates for action. That is the process to change and progress in the Commonwealth. And it flows from our charter, rooted in our values, but shaped by our experiences. When I took office in 2016, I placed the empowerment of women and girls and the urgent need to tackle violence against women and girls at the heart of my mission. This reflected my deep conviction, based on a career full of experience, that the continued marginalization of women was a profound injustice. And it reflected the hope that burned within me of the promise of a different future. After 8 years of change and challenge, of effort and purpose and action, some reflection is inevitable. on what we have achieved, on the vital work which remains, on the kind of legacy we will be able to leave to those who will come next. In answering these, it's tempting to rehearse the arguments we are all familiar with, and I'm so glad that we heard the Lady Mayoress, Mrs. Manelli, talk about what London is doing, grappling with this question. But we know that for centuries, women have been relegated to the sidelines, our voices too often drowned out or ignored. We know that women have been locked out of positions of leadership. We know that for healthcare and education to digital access and financial freedom, too many of our sisters still face structural inequalities and which load the dice against them. We know that 1 in 3 women face the unconscionable abuse of physical, emotional, and sexual violence. And we know that when crises or chaos is thrust upon societies, these profound injustices intensify. They intensified during COVID-19 pandemic. They intensified during times of economic strife. They intensified by climate change, and they intensified during periods of instability and conflict. And these inequalities and injustices are real. They are grave, and they are entrenched, and they are intolerable. But I'm not here to add weight to these arguments. The lived reality of those who face these injustices every day is already strong enough. Their pain is our pain. Their sorrow is our sorrow. And their anger is our anger. Whilst we have all seen and experienced those injustices, we know that there is also a different reality. A reality that is shaped by the incredible women who stand up, who resist, who shape and build and strive for equality and justice. And I'm here because my restlessness for justice is fortified by the tides of history and the example of these amazing women who are living proof that the wave of our unshakable resolve can sweep away even the mightiest walls of oppression and injustice. More than ever before, women are determining the world. The evidence is all around us, from the classroom to the boardroom, from courtrooms to parliaments. Women are rising, not just in numbers, but in influence, in power, and in ability to shape the world around them. In 1960, the Commonwealth was blessed by the first woman in the world to be elected Prime Minister, and that was in Sri Lanka. People forget it was in the East that the sun first rose for women. And today, from Africa and the Cambrian to Asia and the Pacific, women are not only leading Commonwealth countries, they are changing the world. And in doing so, they are redefining what it means to be a leader. And you only need to look at Mia Mottley,
Yes.
the Prime Minister of Barbados, who has not only calmly and gracefully led her country into a new era as a republic whilst remaining a solid member of the Commonwealth, but has delivered real social and economic reform but she's providing inspirational global leadership on climate change and the reform of the international financial system. Just look at Fiame, Naomi, Natafa in Samoa, who I will be handing. Like, can you imagine that picture? The first woman leader of Samoa and the first woman Secretary General side by side. And now we have the King, Charles III, lifted up by a woman on each side. So we won't drop him. So both Fiame and Mia are shining examples of the courage, the resilience, the poise, the unique perspectives which women in leadership offer. I remember when I was growing up, and many of you will know that I am one of my mother's 12 only children. And I'm her 10th only child. And there are 5 girls, and she used to say with 2 of the 5 girls, you know, darling, I don't understand us. I really don't understand us. We don't let men do anything else on their own. Why do we let them run the world? They need our help. And I think Mia, Fiame and others are really showing that. These qualities that women have are sorely needed in our increasingly complex world, and they are evident throughout the international system. The World Trade Organization, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, the IMF and UNESCO are all now led by women. In Amina Mohammed, the UN has a Deputy Secretary General who was instrumental in helping to craft the Sustainable Development Goals. All of these incredible women are pioneers and change makers, but their impact extends beyond what they have achieved in office. Their advancement clears the path for those who will succeed them. I was the first black woman to be appointed as one of Her Majesty's Queen's Counsel in the United Kingdom. I was not the last. I was the first woman to be appointed minister, black woman to be appointed minister in this government. I was not the last. I was the first woman to be appointed the Her Majesty's Attorney General for England, Wales and Northern Ireland since the office was created in the year 1234. So we do things quickly here. In 2007. But I was not the last. I am the first woman to serve as Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations, not the Commonwealth Secretariat, it's the nations, and I confidently predict I will not be the last. So when I took office in 2016, the Commonwealth Women's Forum proclaimed that alone we are invisible, but together we are invincible. And 8 years on, I reflect with pride on the extensive work we have done to create platforms and policies which champion, empower, and create space for women in every sector and every setting. And I'm proud of the resolve and the leadership we have cultivated through our Commonwealth Women Affairs meetings. And I'm proud of the campaigns, such as Commonwealth Says No More, which seeks to eradicate violence against women and girls. And I'm proud of the evidence base we have created for government action to tackle this violence, including detailed work to calculate its economic cost to society, which is continuation of the work I started as a minister in the United Kingdom when we, in 2004, identified that it was costing us 23 billion a year. And we reduced that significantly by 7.1 billion. So I knew it could be done if we choose, and the Commonwealth is now doing it. And it made me smile and feel a little bit joyous to hear the Lord Mayoress mention that economic analysis, which is now being quoted globally. And we did that. We did that. And I'm proud that since I became Secretary General, gender equality has been mainstreamed across all of our work to support and serve the Commonwealth's 56 member states and 2.7 billion citizens, from education and trade, economic development to building peace, tackling climate change, and seizing the opportunity of digitalization. The examples of women in leadership I have cited and the work we've driven forward together over the last 8 years are more than symbolic. They make a practical difference in our world. Women leaders have harnessed the political spaces they enter to advance the cause of equality in political empowerment and social economic development. And women leaders are more like to advocate for improvements in infrastructure, for the repeal of repugnant laws, for awareness of child, early and forced marriage, for an end to human trafficking, and the ratification of international resolutions for women's rights. And women mobilize support for political reform, which strengthen equal representation. And equal representation means better consultation, more participation, more understanding, and more cooperation. And as a direct result, more girls have access to education around the world today than ever before, with increased enrollment rates at all levels. More women hold positions of political power, with quotas and affirmative action slowly but surely marching us closer to equal representation targets. So whilst the gender pay gap remains a persistent challenge, women's participation in the workforce has increased, with more women excelling in previously male-dominated fields, and scores of new initiatives promoting women entrepreneurs. We are seeing marked improvements in healthcare provision for women, including access to reproductive health services and maternal care. Legal reforms to provide more protection for women are being passed around the world, led in part by the Commonwealth's partnership with UN Women and the World Bank to level the law by 2030, through fast-tracking the repeal of gender discriminatory legislation by country. And crucially, women are at the forefront of pioneering work in the most profound technological revolution in the history of human civilization. Indeed, it was a team of women scientists who made history last year as India became the first country to successfully land a spacecraft on the south side of the moon, all across the world. They said it took a woman to do it. But let us not forget too that the scientists who led the world for a solution to the COVID-19 virus were also women. So just imagine where we'd be if they had not been there to help us, if they hadn't been given the opportunity, if their voices had not been heard. It is indisputable that promoting and investing in women is the only pathway to true prosperity, peace, and progress. When more women are economically empowered, the economy grows. When women are equally represented in government, governance thrives. When women are free to live their lives without the perpetual threat of violence, families flourish and business benefits. Where women have a bigger say in peace processes, peace is found sooner and is more durable. And with more than half of the world's population going to the polls this year across 50 countries, in the biggest democratic exercise in history of the world, women will have a bigger say than ever before. So the question before us today is not whether women can shape the future of the Commonwealth and the world. They already are, and they certainly will continue to do so. The real question is whether we, as a society, will embrace the full role and power of women. Whether we will recognize the unique qualities and immense value that women bring. Whether we will support and champion their efforts to effect positive change. And whether we will provide all women with the resources, the opportunities, and the freedom to lead. I see the answer to that question in this room. I see it in the extraordinary women who rise together across the Commonwealth and the wider world with extraordinary courage and conviction. I see it in every person who challenges the status quo, who is willing to break down barriers and forge new pathways towards progress. With every stride we take, we do not only rewrite the script of history, we open the door for those who will follow us to even greater heights. Of course, the journey ahead will not be easy, and we will need each and every one of our male allies to walk with us, side by side, because we will never leave them behind. But discrimination still exists. Bias is still entrenched. Power structures which seek to diminish women still persist. And it is painful. Yet, in the face of adversity, women have always risen to the occasion, defying expectations and defying the odds. And as I say that, I think of the possibility that a man would ever give birth. It's a challenge that I think they may just not be able to deliver. So, in 2024, let us all, each of us, harness our collective power to shape a world which reflects our shared values of equality, justice, and opportunity for all. Let us stand in solidarity with women in every part of the world, amplifying their voices, supporting their aspirations, and championing their causes. And let us never forget that the future we envision is not a distant dream, but a reality within our grasp, ready to shape by the indomitable spirit of women everywhere. And let us seize this moment with fierce determination and unwavering resolve, walking together hand in hand towards that inclusive future in which women not only determine the world and make it better, brighter, fairer, stronger, more peaceful, more sustainable, kinder and more loving, not just for ourselves, but for everyone, everywhere. And I thank each and every woman and man who is brave enough to be here. And I think we should give the men a real... for not just what you have done already, and not just for being here today, but what I know you will do as a result of coming and planning and plotting and sharing to lift up the other half of the sky so that our world is fit for those we love. And I really thank you for that. And when you're thinking you're having a bad hair day, and can you really do this? And is it worth it? And wouldn't it just be so much easier to give up? I want you to remember that on behalf of 1/3 of humanity, that's 2.7 billion people, the Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations, the first woman, but not the last, to hold this post, said thank you in advance and is right behind you and saying, keep on going, you can do this. And for all of those who say we can't, we have one response to all of them, and that is this: watch us.